Good evening. In accordance with Section 5 of the Public Meeting Act, we advise that a notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board in Town Hall and forwarding to the officially designated newspapers that this meeting would take place at Town Hall at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, March 21st, 2023. Meeting details and the draft agenda were posted on our township website. And also it's right there on the table, so if anybody wants to pick them. Please all stand to salute the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Ms. Krugus? Ms. Romano? Here. Deputy Mayor Benayak?
Here.
Mayor Miggins? Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? May I have a motion to approve the January 3rd, 2023 Township Committee Organizations Meeting?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? May I have a motion to approve January 17th, 2023 Township Committee Meetings minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? May I have a motion to approve the February 7th, 2023 Township Committee minutes?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? May I have a motion to approve February 7th, 2023 Special Township Committee minutes?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. I'll now refer to Chief Equario. He will provide backgrounds and on what he would like to talk about.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor Benayak, Township Committee members, Alex, Jesse, colleagues, friends, and family. On behalf of all the members of the Milburn Fire Department, I want to express my sincerest thank you to the Township Committee and the community. It is my great honor and pleasure to be able to introduce the two candidates for promotion tonight. Captain Russell Lynn and Captain Felix Reyes.
Chief Echeverry called me up today and he said he was very proud of my son. And he asked me if I would do the Bible for him, and I told him I'd be honored. So here I am. Captain Russell Lynn is, oh, by the way, I was a fireman in town for a long time. Okay, Captain Russell Lynn is being promoted from fire captain to the rank of fire battalion chief. Russ is a 28-year veteran of the Milburn Fire Department. He began his career as a volunteer firefighter in 1995 and was appointed to the career division in 1997. Russ was promoted to the rank of fire captain in April 2016. He was assigned as a company officer on the 1st platoon until 2021, when he was assigned as the acting officer in charge of the 4th platoon for a year. Russ has been a New Jersey certified emergency medical technician for 25 years. As the head of the department mechanic, he oversees all maintenance and repairs of the fire department. He is in the chairman of the apparatus purchasing committee, overseeing a team of department members who write the specifications for departmental fire apparatus and vehicle purchases. Russ is also a member of the hiring committee who conduct background investigations on prospective employees of the fire department. Russ grew up in Roselle and graduated from Roselle Catholic High School. He attended the Union County Technical School, which I paid for. Degree in automotive repair. For the last 20 years, he has lived in Springfield with his wife, Jennifer. I also want to thank the Township Committee. I was a fireman, and you've always given the Township Fire Department wonderful equipment, which keeps my son safe, and I thank you very much. Chief?
I guess I still have a job after that. Next is Captain Felix Reyes. Captain Felix Reyes is being promoted for fire captain to the rank of Fire Battalion Chief. Felix was born in Cuba, moving to the US at the age of 1. He attended St. Patrick's in Elizabeth and Roselle Park High School. He received a Bachelor of Science from Finance from St. John's University, where he graduated on the Dean's List. Felix began his career at Morgan Stanley as an analyst before becoming a special agent with the Drug Enforcement Administration, working within various task forces in the high-intensity drug trafficking areas. In 2006, he made a decision to provide a more stable environment for his family, which is where he began his career with the Millburn Fire Department. Throughout his career, he always found time to work in the family business at Reyes International Tire. Felix was promoted to captain in 2017. He was assigned to the Fire Prevention Division for 2 years. We oversaw inspections of all commercial properties, as well as supervising daily operations of all fire inspectors. He was instrumental in the implementation of the town's adoption of spatial data logic software that redesigned how inspections were and currently are completed in the field. In 2019, he was assigned to the line as company officer of the 4th Platoon. Felix is a New Jersey State Certified Fire Inspector, Certified Fire Official, State Certified Fire Investigator. A member of the Morristown, Millburn, Uwasi Metro Strike Team. He is a member of the department's hiring committee as well, where he was at the forefront of streamlining the process for prospective applicants and their ability to interface with department personnel. Felix lives in Clark with his wife, Jennifer, and his 2 children, Parker and Isabella. After his promotion, Battalion Chief Reyes will be temporarily assigned to administration.
May I have a motion to approve resolution 23-087, which confirms the promotions?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Romano?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Banayak?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Gaddy will now issue the oath of offices.
Gotta bring him up. He's famous. Hope the crown side.
He is gonna put his hands on. I state your name,
I, Russell Lynn,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I will support the Constitution
I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of Fire Battalion Chief
the duties of Fire Battalion Chief
of the Millburn Township Fire Department
of the Millburn Township Fire Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, geez, Louise. No one's watching.
Perfect, there we
It's just
go.
on TV.
Oh, wonderful. I state your name,
I, Felix Reyes,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of Fire Battalion Chief
the duties of Fire Battalion Chief
of the Milburn Township Fire Department
of the Malvern Township Fire Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just come on
Right
out.
there.
Congratulations to both the officers. We'll take 2-minute break before we start again. Thank you for your service. Mayor Becker, Community Service Award Committee Chair. She will provide the background, and Ms. Romano is scheduled to present the information. Hi, Mayor. How are you?
Nice to see you in that chair tonight. Have to face this way, I guess. Tonight, the Community Service Award Committee is presenting an award that no doubt touches the families, relatives, or friends of everyone in this room. We are all thankful, at least all the people who were in this room, I guess I should say. We are thankful for having brought this disease to our attention and to yours. This award will be put on the township website, which I haven't arranged that yet, but we'll get it on the website so that a lot more people can learn about what our award is about. Two members of our committee, Lori Janae and Jennifer Rosenblatt, were instrumental in learning about this issue, and they will introduce those involved in working on getting out the word on colorectal cancer. Then Committeeman Annette Robano will read the proclamation. And I'd like the people in our committee to stand up who are here tonight. Jackie, where's Jane?
Right here.
Jane is right in front of you. Okay, and Laura's here and Jennifer's here. Okay,
Thank you.
thanks very much.
Thank you.
Do you want me to present to you guys or just can I talk to anyone? Okay. So I'm gonna have these girls. I thought it was fitting to surprise Abby to have some of the original Blues soccer team as part of the presentation to the Community Service Award being given to the March 4th committee. These girls had such grit and tenacity to watch. They would play games, teams bigger and tougher than them, but they wouldn't back down. I remember talking to Joanna and she would sit at the midfield to watch Abby play. She would bring her chair and set up right there. She said, I just love watching these girls. We all got so excited. Some parents, including my husband, had voices louder than others. It was all heart and soul. Speaking on behalf of most of the parents, we love watching these girls play. We would still continue to help the Dranikoff family with as much love and support when Joanna became sick. As part of the Community Service Committee, it is our goal to look at members of our community who take life events to support and elevate others in life. When we spoke to Lee and his family a month ago, he told Jen and I a story that their efforts through the March 4th committee, someone got screened early and they found something and probably saved their life. March is National Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, so please go get screened. I am honored to be on this committee tonight, but knowing families like the Dranikoffs and supporting the March 4th committee was the reason I continue to support this community service effort. I will let the mayor present the proclamation. Thank you. Yeah, they can come up. They can.
Whereas the Milburn Township Committee values the contributions of volunteers in the township and wants to recognize outstanding accomplishments of volunteers in our community. And whereas Joanna Dranikoff's determination that her family March 4th, combined with the date of her passing from colorectal cancer on March 4th, 2016, inspired the March 4th initiative. The Dranikoff family, Lee, Jeremy, Rebecca, and Abby, supported by the March 4th committee and the Milburn Short Hills community, hosted the first 5K run walk on March 4th, 2018. And whereas the inaugural March 4th attracted over 300 participants and raised over $30,000, and under the leadership of the Dranikoff children, 6 events later, on the first Sunday of March each year at the South Mountain Reservation in Milburn, the event has raised over $350,000 for the prevention of colorectal cancer. And whereas the Dranikoff family and the March 4th committee are committed to increase awareness to detect colorectal cancer early, which is one of the most preventable and treatable forms of cancer. And whereas the March 4th 5K run walk coincides with National Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month for the second leading cause of cancer deaths in the United States, which the Dranikoff family and the March 4th committee continue to be committed to increase awareness about colon cancer and to advocate screenings beginning at age 45. Now, therefore, Maggie Miggins, Mayor of Milburn Township, on behalf of the Milburn Township Committee and our community, on this 21st day of March 2023, extend gratitude and praise to the Dranikoff family and the March 4th Committee for raising much needed awareness about colorectal cancer symptoms and screening options, which can save lives and significantly enhance the health and well-being of others in the Township of Milburn and beyond.
Please, I invite you to.
Any direction? Do you care? So thank you for this. It means a lot to us. You know, we started this with my son had this idea to do a 5K. And so the story is effectively my wife, Joanna, died on March 4th, 2016. And at the funeral, her friend Naomi, who helped create this, said to us, actually said to my kids, that's what she'd want you to do, March 4th, like March Forward. And so the name stuck, and we decided to create this 5K event. And over the years, it's actually turned into a great community event. We got 600 people this year, and the community's rallied around us, and it's terrific. But so I want to thank my kids. I'm super proud of them, and thank everyone on the March 4th committee and everyone from the town for giving us the opportunity to get this award and to do this every year. And most important, if anybody is 45, please go get screened. And if you need help, give me a call and I'll help you figure out how to do it. Thanks.
My whole family had done the run a couple of years ago. Thank you.
You're gonna win next year.
Thank you all. We move on to reports now. Provide reports and then for each committee person, please provide your reports when asked. I will start with Mr. McDonald first.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. First, I just have three reports. First is that the budget schedule has changed. The township is revising 2023 schedule. Introduction will be on April 18th. The public budget session will be on May 4th, and the adoption of the budget, the 2023 budget, will be on May 16th. Just wanted to announce that the affordable housing session that has been spoken about on a few occasions at these meetings will be scheduled for April 17th at the Milburn Free Public Library from 7 to 8:45. All township professionals that are handling the affordable housing matter will be in attendance to present and answer questions. Just by way of background, just wanted to indicate the previous sessions that the township has had so that those that are interested can also go to the township's website under affordable housing and look these up. November 7th, 2017, September 10th, 2019, August 17th, 2021, following the adoption of the settlement agreement, January 10th, 2022, March 10th, 2022, May 3rd and May 5th, we had overlay specific sessions for the public. So this will be in addition to those on April 17th from 7 to 8:45 p.m. Just a quick reminder to restaurants and businesses regarding cafe licenses. As it starts to get warm and the weather turns, before setting up tables and chairs, please make sure that you get a license that's obtained from the clerk's office. For those restaurants that are on county roads, the County of Essex must be named as an additionally assured, and a hold harmless for the county must also be filled out. If you put out tables and chairs prior to having that license or having that license approved by the township committee, you may find yourself in violation. So please just do the paperwork. It's quick, it's easy, and the clerk's office is very helpful with that. A reminder, just a quick reminder to residents about Notify Me on the township's website. If you're interested in getting updates regarding when an agenda is posted or when various items are put up, news feeds, traffic alerts, things like that, I encourage everybody to go on the website and sign up for Notify Me. You can pick from a menu of items that you can be notified when those items change on the township's website. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Mr. Moman? No. Mr. Maraziti? Mr. Ahmad?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Milburn Short Hills Restaurant Week is officially underway. 31 restaurants, bakeries, and wine shops are participating through Sunday, March 26th. To find participating businesses, specials, and menus, visit exploremilburnshorthills.org and click on Restaurant Week. Explore has highlighted lunch and dinner specials, free promotions with purchases, vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-free options. Explore has partnered with Opportunity Project, a local nonprofit, as part of Brain Injury Awareness Month. Proceeds from some sales will benefit Opportunity Project. In addition, a few restaurants have hired clubhouse members from Opportunity Project to work for them during the week. If you dine out this week, make sure to take a photo or video and tag Explore Milburn Short Hills to help promote the restaurants and the local food dining scene. In addition, Explore is working with a number of social media food influencers who have already begun posting content. Explore received an email blast from Edible New Jersey magazine, who has over 10,000 subscribers, featuring all participating restaurants. To check out all of the content, make sure to follow Explore on Instagram. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmad. Mr. Cohen?
Yes, excuse me. So I have a couple of things to mention. First of all, the Cultural Engagement and Diversity of the Arts Committee. I've talked about Founding Day several times. It's coming up April 22nd. Today, I'd also like to publicize CETA Sunday, which will be held on May 21st at the Bauer Center between 1 and 4. And at that event, there will be dance troupes from the Chinese and also from the Indian community performing. The Arboretum Committee is planning an event that's really in the early planning stages. We're looking at doing a cornhole tournament at the Milburn Main Street closure, probably on the first weekend of that. As I said, it's in the early planning stages, but we're looking at doing a tournament with giveaways and prizes. Finally, I guess I have all the committees with the events, I guess. The library, we talked about museum night, that's coming up on March 28th at 7. That's the Vermeer, the Vermeer presentation. The book club is meeting on April 10th, going over the book Lessons in Chemistry. The big event there is a book sale that will be going on between April 10th and April 23rd. They're looking for donations and then, of course, people to come and purchase the books. The library is doing a survey. You can find it on their website to assess the needs of the Milburn community and to ensure that the library is meeting those needs. And then lastly, another event, March 25th, the library is really busy, I have to say, is Maker's Day between 11 and 2, and that's also at the library. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. As you heard already about the budget, we will have that in the next meeting, April 1st meeting, April 4th. April 18th. Then we also have a flood mitigation public session, which will happen on the 30th of March. Mr. McDonald, do you remember the time?
Yeah, it'll be at 7 p.m. here in Town Hall.
Thank you. If the reports are done.
I'll just offer one more reminder that on March 29th here in Town Hall again, we will be having the second of the public information sessions regarding recreation fields. I know that it is continuing to be and some of this is on for discussion tonight, but some of it is continuing to be dubbed as a part 3 discussion. I think that it was very, when we had the first meeting on March 2nd, that we have certainly looked to expand the reach and the inspection of various areas in the township. And I think this is being discussed later on in the agenda regarding a master plan element and looking into that as well. So just wanted to remind everybody on March 29th, 7 p.m. here in Town Hall, 7:30, sorry, 7:30 here in Town Hall.
And there's also a follow-up meeting with the Board of Ed
Yes,
that is on Friday.
yes.
Okay. So as the reports are all done, we'll move on to public comments. Just some housekeeping work here. When invited to speak, please come to lectern. Clearly state your name and whether you are a Millburn resident or and property or business owner. And speak loudly so that your comments may be understood by all and properly recorded. Please do not provide your full address, seeing our meetings are recorded and are readily available to the public. For the convenience of our community, there is a remote option available. If you called in and would like to comment, please press *6 now. If you are attending by computer or electronic device, please click raise hand button. All members of the public wishing to speak will be put into the queue to address the committee. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to one 3-minute session. You will be prompted when there is 30 seconds remaining. Each individual will be given one opportunity to make their public comment. Please be patient and we will address each member of the public that wishes to speak. This is a business meeting and please do not address professionals or staff directly. And please direct all comments to me. A reminder that we are all neighbors and personal attacks will not be tolerated. I will not open the public comment period. Let's start from the room and then we'll go up to the online.
Hi, how are you? Ben Stoller, Millburn resident. What a great event this morning, just a few minutes ago at the fire department, fantastic. At least some of us, one guy was here for 28 years. Looked younger than a lot of us, it was crazy. And also to the fire department and to the police department. Couple questions, a couple issues I want to discuss today are really the affordable housing project. Thank you, Alex, for giving a generous list of dates where you've had public sections or sessions. If we can get the minutes of that, that'd be fantastic. If you could provide all the minutes that were discussed at those public sessions.
They're all recorded. They're all on the
Perfect.
website.
So if you could send that.
They're all on the website.
Fantastic. Okay, good. I'm looking forward to see it. Which kind of negates some of the things that we're going to talk about, which was the non-public sessions and the ability to have them. Really going off of that, talking about open sessions for the Canoe Brook site, the Woodmont location, and all these sites, I think is very valuable to the residents. Where as a collective group, the residents of Millburn Short Hills has extensive experience. I think it'd be very wise to take advantage of that instead of relying solely on our professionals. I just got back from Chicago. I had a 2-day meeting out in Chicago, literally just got off the plane a couple hours ago. And a lot of the things with affordable housing are actually happening out there. So I was visiting a friend who was a emergency room doctor. He's been there for 25 years or so. And he gave me a lot of insight on what's going on there and some of the vagaries of that are surrounding the affordable housing. And I always think it's Section 8 like housing, but when you actually look at it, it's really just the affordable housing through COA. When I want to understand the financial, the operational and strategic planning required to make these informed decisions and to move ahead, I still didn't get a good answer of why we're moving ahead with this 100% segregated income housing on a dump that will be remediated. As you said, it will be a clean site, and at what expense to the general public. One of the things I learned was that when you move students into a new school system that is ranked first or second or third in the country, they are actually ranked third in the country in Naperville. There's a catch-up period for the students. All the students aren't starting out in kindergarten or first grade. So how do we plan to catch that up is very important to me, and all the costs associated with that. I think it'd be good to have that financial analysis done for us. Mr. Marizzetti, last week I watched it on the last meeting, and you talked about courtesy and being respectful, law of courtesy and being respectful. 100% agree with you that this is a business meeting and we should all be courteous. And part of that courtesy is also giving us all the information that we need as well as residents to understand what's happening in our town. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Stover.
Good evening, committee. I'm Diane Eglo for Mayor, Deputy Mayor. As you know, we keep our titles, Mayor Benjamin and Mayor Becker. At the last TC meeting, it was announced that there were positions open on the town's Planning and Zoning Board of Adjustments. I did put in a volunteer interest form the next day. 2 weeks later, I've not had a response. And I'm sorry that Mayor Miggins is not here, but the mayor in our form of government is not elected. It's an honorary title that we keep forever. I still get mail addressed to your honor and mayor, and I maintain the privilege to officiate at marriages. New Jersey statute dictates that the mayor, even though in Milburn Township is not a separate elected position, has the sole privilege of choosing residents to sit on several very important boards in town. Planning Board, the Library, and the Environmental Commission. Ms. Miggins, who I'm sorry is not here because this is addressed to her, but I'm sure she'll watch this, now is mayor year 2. Will she continue to only select people who have her exact vision of how Milburn Township should look? Will Ms. Miggins be running again in November? And if she wins, will she be mayor again? This should be very concerning to our taxpayer. This is another really important reason why we should seriously be looking into our form of government. If the mayor has extraordinary powers, should we not consider a form of government with an actually elected mayor? Ms. Miggins and I may not be friends, but the courtesy of a reply would have been the proper thing to do. Ms. Miggins is always preaching proper behavior and good manners. It's her thing. I'm looking forward to next Wednesday on the 29th, the second public meeting about the fields and plans that will forever destroy the par 3 golf course. Has the Board of Ed met with the rec department to discuss what their plans are to improve all the fields under their control, which are all in poor condition? At the packed room in the meeting at the library last week, unfortunately it was not recorded. I did request it be recorded. It would have been really easy to hire Hometown TV for that. There seemed to be no public support to destroy the par 3. At that meeting, a more realistic cost of over $20 million was also newly quoted. I reached out to several realtors I know in town, all of who said the par 3 is a selling point and a draw for people moving here. I don't believe many towns of our distinction have a golf course for their residents that also serves our Milburn High School golf team. I would ask each TC member to respond. I'm sorry Tara and Maggie aren't here. As is customary after public comment to speakers' questions, where do you all stand on this? Are you in favor of spending thousands and thousands of dollars for a feasibility study that would forever destroy the par 3 in town? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Deputy Mayor.
Good evening, Jay Morelli, resident and property owner. I'd like to start by thanking Mr. McDonald and Mr. Molman for meeting with myself and Dave Cosgrove to discuss some zoning changes that I put forward a few weeks ago. We look forward to hearing back, but thank you for your time, both of you. Also, I'd like to give a big shout out to Nina in the rec department, who was extremely helpful and answered a lot of questions I had. So to Nina and the rec department, thank you. Now, as a follow-up to comments Deputy Mayor Vinayak made last week regarding the sports fields, I want to say I completely agree with him that if we've identified locations that are available now that could be used for fields, we should just go ahead and do it. Waiting on the master plan. I support the master plan, but it's going to be a process that takes time. I think it's clear from the rec department presentation that there's a field shortage. We need it. There's a spot that's been identified. Let's move forward. Nobody, I'm guessing nobody on the TC would vote no to that. And yes, the TC should continue to work with the BOE to see if there are opportunities to turf the fields that are in poor condition and not heavily used. I'll point out that Mr. Myers in his presentation specifically pointed to the deficit in turf fields. He didn't even count the total number of fields we had in town. He specifically showed in his presentation the turf fields. Anecdotally, I was driving with my wife down Glen Avenue, 5 o'clock last week. We were going to Maplewood, and we passed the library field in full use, people out there practicing. As we went down further Glen, we hit Slayton Field, empty, not a soul on it. Ask yourself the question, why was nobody on Slayton Field, yet there were people on the library field? My guess is because the turf library field is in better condition than Slayton. It's more useful. And changing gears a little bit, just a public service announcement. Apparently the parking app that we use in Milburn doesn't always get the zone right. I received a parking ticket after using the app to pay. I have appealed it. I haven't heard back, but I was a little surprised to have used the app itself. So to everyone out there who uses the app, check the zone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morelli.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Feld. First, a couple of public announcements. First, a real shout out to Sam Fu, who yesterday was announced to be the male fencer of the year in the Star Ledger. And I think I think that's worthy of a proclamation in the future. Also, since the last meeting, another notice of the April 19th Fair Share Housing hearing was published in the Star Ledger. Interestingly, the court has opened up the objection and comment period that we have till April 12th, citizens and residents to put comments back into the court. Unfortunately, it seems that our public forum will be after that deadline. This Friday, there is a virtual hearing in my case, which will be involving, and I will be posting the link regarding the right to be heard prior to official action in consideration by the council, the right to know how certain calendar year 2021 capital projects were funded. The last couple of weeks, I've been trying to reconcile certain contradictory statements. Sunday, I attended a poet section crime watch hosted by some residents. And the police said, I think the mantra was, see something, say something. Our mayor attended and she talked about collaboration among residents and local public officials. At the last couple of hearings, we've heard people talk about that the BA's role is to implement policies that are set by the elected officials, and we're seeking now community-based common sense solutions. In that light, I'd like to propose certain common sense solutions. I think we need to post our best practices inventory responses. I think we need to post the employee handbook on the public website. I think when people raise questions, you might not respond to them today, but before the next meeting, I think people are entitled to answers. That's what the Board of Education says is their policy. I think we've been asking for an accounting of what the costs were of the pre-SID calendar year 2020 Main Street closure. In light of what was said at the Crime Watch meeting, when I moved in this town more than 30 years ago, there was a fundraising activity by the high school. And I raise that again to paint the numbers on like the Belgian blocks in front of the houses. That could be done by the Boy Scouts, the Key Club, or some kind of civic, because the police said when they're tracing people in the middle of the night, they don't know where the addresses are. And I think that might be a good community way to help our police. We put on the Belgian block the addresses. Unfortunately, I had to discuss something that happened at the last meeting. Our mayor, who's not here tonight, basically said, I am responsible. I, Jeff Feld, am responsible for the lack of police officers because of the litigation I have done. She cited a number. I made an open request for the backup. It was not produced to me. I can tell you the number they threw out. If it's based on past things, about $100,000 is involved the Bear Properties litigation and discovery dispute that I was not involved in. I was not counsel at that time. That's the question you rather to litigate, rather than mediate. I'm not seeking discovery, but had no relationship to the statutory interpretation. In the case that's going to be heard on Friday, $15,000 was incurred by this gentleman's firm for preparing an answer, but a default was entered. That answer was never filed, and about $25,000 was incurred by the GIF insurer. And we still have no answers been filed and we're in pre-discovery stages. And if you really want to talk about other costs, I think we should be looking at some of the.
Mr. Feld, if you could please wrap up.
1 minute, just one more minute. Let's compare the downtown bailout socialism program of all the costs that we've incurred. We never talked about Perkins Eastman. We never talked about the Taylor Park renovation. We didn't talk about the special emergency fund that had to be redone because you didn't do it properly on the state in September 2021. And all the city subsidies. Because remember, we still do not know whether the city is a valid entity under state law.
Thank you, Mr. Feld.
Richard Seibert, town resident. So I don't know who plans the meetings, but you made April 17th the meeting for the public forum for fair share housing. Knowing that April 12th is the last day that residents can mail in to the court, wouldn't it be advisable to make that meeting before April 12th? So that residents have a chance to hear what's going on and then write a letter to the judge. What do you think? Nothing? Thank you.
Anybody else from the room who wants to make public comment?
Jerry Kung, Milburn resident. I just wanted to loop back on something that Mr. Vinayak stated at the last meeting, which is that he was looking at ways to avoid having to raise taxes. He gave a couple of examples, notably none of which included taking a critical look at the destructive fair share housing settlement agreement that was approved without any prior public input. Now, Mr. Vinayak voted to pass the 100% exclusionary housing project on the DPW site, an unnecessary open-ended liability, without once questioning why Milburn agreed to satisfy its unmet need in this manner. And we as residents, as Mr. Stoller pointed out, have still not seen any detailed financial analysis of the giant crater that this project will leave in our budget. So perhaps you might consider avoiding a tax increase by eliminating this extraneous project. After all, I've made this point on multiple occasions, and you have yet to provide us with any evidence or examples of other towns that are satisfying their unmet need with 75 units of affordable housing via 100% exclusionary housing projects. So just to give you an example of what other towns do with unmet need, other towns satisfy unmet need exclusively through zoning overlays, which don't cost a single penny of the town's tax revenue. So why are we doing anything different in Milburn? Are you just that uninterested in, getting to the bottom of our settlement agreement? So if you're so concerned about the budget as you purport to be, why don't you ask why we're expending potentially millions of dollars, as well as unknown future shortfalls due to the proposed pilot program, for a project that's never been justified to residents? Are you just that uncurious about how the settlement agreement came into being? Just to give you an example, North Caldwell, where our judge is from, their unmet need is satisfied entirely through zoning overlays, all of which are less than 10 units per acre. I encourage you to go look at our settlement agreement and ask yourself why it's any different. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kung. Doctor. Thank you, Dr. Kung.
Debbie Frank, Township resident. I have to say that it is my understanding, and I'm sure people correct me if I am wrong, that one of the reasons that we are in this situation with affordable housing is that since Mount Laurel, Milburn Township did basically nothing to satisfy any kind of affordable housing obligation that we had, other than, a certain number per any project that was done. Given that, my assumption would be that we did not exactly have a tremendous amount of leverage when it came to trying to satisfy affordable housing obligations. I am not opposed to this. I mean, I'm probably one of the only people, I guess, it seems, that is not opposed to this for a number of reasons. And that's one of them, that we have skirted this obligation since Mount Laurel. We never really took a look at where we could put this, what our obligations were. I think we have a legal obligation to provide it, and I think basically we also have a moral obligation to provide this. This is a very, I mean, I was on the Board of Ed for 9 years. It is a very, very high functioning school district. I would think that we would be pleased to be able to extend that kind of education to people who could not, under current zoning, buy into, or current anything, buy into this town. How we arrived here, I mean, I have obviously my ideas of how we arrived here, but I do not think that this is an unreasonable solution to the position in which we find ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fripp.
Hi, my name is Frank Sacamandi, and I'm a Milburn resident. So I want to take a moment to address this myth that we keep hearing, that Milburn has done nothing as far as creating affordable housing. It's simply not true. Milburn allowed for the construction of the Upton, which provided a number of affordable housing units. So we have built some affordable housing. If we take a look at some other towns, like the one our judge is from, North Caldwell, we'll see that they actually built no affordable housing prior to their most recent settlement agreement. And they ended up with a much better settlement agreement than we did. So it's disingenuous to say that Milburn got a bad agreement because they haven't built affordable housing. Well, that's simply not true. We have built affordable housing. There's plenty of opportunities to create more affordable housing. So, for people to just keep saying that, they're just simply repeating a falsehood. The next thing I want to point out is, no one, at least I've associated with, is against affordable housing. What we're against is the way that this town decided to try and implement the affordable housing. So affordable housing should be done in such a way that it's inclusive, that it's going to help lift the residents that it's meant to help up, and also provide opportunities for those residents to live amongst other residents, perhaps of a higher socioeconomic background. Studies have shown that that lifts everyone up. What our town agreed to is to build 100% income segregated housing on the contaminated dump, which will get cleaned up. That's going to cost a pretty penny probably. But that's not the right way to do it. Why are we isolating those in need and putting them in one place, as opposed to doing what many other towns did and spreading out the affordable units, mixing them in with market rate units? So that's what a lot of us are opposed to. And we're also opposed to the fact that we as residents didn't get any input on the settlement agreement prior to it being voted on. And I think had we all had the opportunity to be involved, like it seems like we're going to have with the fields, right? You guys have a number of information sessions, you're getting a lot of information from residents, new ideas. Had we done that prior to the settlement agreement being signed, I don't think any of us would be here talking about this right now, right? So I think there's a lesson to be learned here, and that's that you need to involve the residents as soon as possible, because our residents are some of the brightest in the state and perhaps the country. And we have collectively a lot of brain power and a lot of good ideas on how to deal with issues the town is facing. So you need to give us the opportunity as residents to participate. And I think we'll avoid these issues in the future if we do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sacramenti. Mayor.
Thank you. Elaine Becker, Upper Caven Way. I've heard so many people say to me, and I'm sure other people who have been on the township committee, that why didn't you ever zone for affordable housing? We didn't zone for affordable housing. I was on the township committee from 1992 to 2003, so it's been a long time. But we did not zone for it it's not what the township wanted, for one thing, and for another, Jay Lynch, our planner, he would always look at this every time we did an update of our master plan. This was in our master plan, but we were a fully developed community. Now things have opened up, and yes, there have become opportunities for affordable housing. It wasn't that we were against affordable housing. The only place we could have zoned it was probably what we called the industrial section, which has now got a different name. But the industrial section, I don't think that would have been the best place to put affordable housing. And so that's the way it was. We did a survey. What do the people in town want? What they wanted was senior housing. And we tried to get some opportunities that might take care of that, a senior housing sort of function. And that didn't work too well. We got a couple people who came and talked to us. One of the realtors down on Main Street wanted to do it, but it never came to fruition. So I think it's just, I didn't plan to speak on that tonight. And so I'm just telling you what I can remember and what the township was like back then. And it stayed that way for a while. That's why we did not, I mean, Mount Laurel was not near us. It wasn't anything that we thought was something that needed to be done immediately. Where would we have put that housing? Now we have some places that obviously are working out for the affordable housing. And we do have a lot to think about because we're going to have school problems. We know all that. And I remember at the Upton, what was the number? I was on the planning board then. I think it was like, 15 or 20 kids maybe or something. It was really kind of a joke. But there are going to be a lot of needs, and we'll just have to, provide those things as we go along. So thank you.
Mayor Becker. Anyone else? If not, Mr. Molman, can we go online? And just a reminder for online, I believe we have a video that we need to be on. There we
Yep.
are. Just so everyone else on the online group knows about it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm reading my notes from my phone as well, so I hope you can still see me.
Yes, we do.
I'd just like to say, Ms. Frank, thank you for your prior service to the community on the Board of Education, which I also have done. I wholeheartedly, though, disagree with your assessment about Millburn and meeting our affordable housing obligation. While everyone appreciates your sentiments and probably agrees mostly with everything you're saying sentimentally, this topic is so much more complex and nuanced and requires a deep understanding of the process, negotiations, and outcomes. Many people here tonight and other residents not present have done this homework, made excellent suggestions, have opposed the lack of our constitutional rights being trampled upon, not being part of the process. I do trust their conclusions more than I do the insider dealing that our TC has conducted related to the Fair Share Settlement Agreement. I'd also like to ask Mr. McDonald and Mr. Viniak, the budget is not being introduced until mid-April, and I've noticed other towns, including our next door neighbor, Maplewood, have already introduced theirs. Theirs includes a substantial tax increase. Deputy Mayor Viniak and Mayor Miggins have repeated often that they have been responsible for no tax increases during their tenure. Can we expect the same for Millburn again? Do you have the expectation of a tax increase? And could you share that with us tonight? We would appreciate as much transparency as possible about this most important subject as soon as possible, given that the Board of Ed has moved forward with a bond referendum and likely their budget will result in a tax hike. We already know that the county will be doing the same. So it's really important that we get that information and understand it and factor that into the lack of a strategic plan and just the beginnings of a master plan review of our rec and open spaces. The public meeting on the Fair Share Affordable Housing It's 2 days before the final hearing and after the public is allowed to give input to the judge. I think that is just absurd. It really needs to be changed. I think everyone here on its face says, come on, really? We've asked for this months ago. It should have happened sooner. You were able to get everything else you wanted public input on organized much sooner, and there's really no reason why this can't be done sooner. This Friday's virtual public hearing with Mr. Feld versus the Township of Milburn, I think there's so many important issues that he's raised and will come before a court of law. Our constitutional right to political free speech, whether or not we have the right as citizens to be heard and object prior to official Township Committee agenda action is critical. We really should all be interested in this hearing, and I'm sure that Mr. Feld will provide a Zoom link so that all citizens of Milburn will have the opportunity to listen into this most important judiciary proceeding. And I also want to make one last comment if I haven't run out of time. I'm not sure because I can't see it. In the past several months, it's become clear that the judiciary and law enforcement resources have been utilized by the mayor to quash and intimidate resident dissenters and those who disagree with her and perhaps others on the Township Committee. Last meeting, she attempted to discredit Mr. Feld and also former Republican candidate of 2022, Frank Sacamandi. And I obtained yesterday as a defendant of a private citizen's complaint filed by Mayor Miggins against me from the chief prosecutor of Newark, where this case has been moved, several documents that raise issues as to the veracity and credibility of our mayor. It's okay if you don't like what someone says about you at a public meeting or social media or online, but to use that and weaponize it is just wrong. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Bassett. Is there anyone else, Mr. Moore?
Good evening, Carrie Urso, 514 Milburn Avenue, Short Hills, merchant, property owner. I would like to give a shout out and congratulate Felix and Russ for their promotions within the Milburn Fire Department. And they are truly have been an asset to the Milburn Fire Department and also to this community. So congratulations to you gentlemen, you well deserved. I have a couple questions this evening. First, would attorney Mr. Marazziti or perhaps Mr. Cohen kindly give a legal opinion to my question from March 7th, 2023 TC meeting? Why participants are required to have a video during comments when they are not either testifying or being sworn in? Number two, what is the policy and procedure for mayor, township officials, department heads, appointed committee members of their responsibilities to respond back to emails from constituents or stakeholders? What is the policy and procedure for this body to answer all and not select questions from the public during public comment, or respond at least prior to the next meeting by way of email, phone call, snail mail? Our questions do deserve to be answered. Number three, it's now March, and on January 24th, the host presented for the township representatives were on January 24th, they were the host, and were the engineering department head, the business administrator, Mr. Molman and Mr. Grillo, afforded a public information center session regarding Lot 14. Can you please advise the public with an update as to when I and others can expect to hear answers back regarding our comments, questions, and concerns? Number four, please provide an update from the public information session on February 16th, 2023 regarding the solid waste removal. And when will the administrative code be amended and updated? Have you informed both property owners and merchants? Number five, how were the monies received pursuant to the calendar year 2023 SID assessment? How were those monies transferred to the SID without the consent or prior approval of this body? I'm sure our sitting officials whose businesses are within one of the contested expanded 5-district SID would like to know. And number 6, I would ask the mayor, Ms. Prupus, Ms. Romano, and the sitting BA to explain how Mr. Grillo amended the SID's bylaws, the order of business, without prior consent or approval from this local governing body. Thank you, and your time is appreciated. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Urso. No one else? Okay, I'll close the public comment now. At this time, a professional and committee members may directly answer any questions made by the public. Please only directly answer questions that you may wish to comment on, and do not request that of the other members or professionals. A reminder that this is not a time for dialogue or to debate a matter. Members of the public may contact the township or township committee at any time outside of our business meetings. Thank you. I will start with our business administrator first, Mr. McDonald.
So the main thing that I just want to comment on is the date of this affordable housing session. As I had indicated in the past meetings, about the difficulty of gathering everyone that I think would be expected to be there, which includes Mr. Cantor, Mr. Mariziti, the township planner, Beth McManus, the financial individual, Bob Beneke. Understanding as well that spring break, our spring break, other spring breaks, people's vacations, things like that, play into that availability of various locations. Certainly every meeting that I think has been set up has been poked holes in for one reason or another. It's too early, it's too late. Why are you having it there? So I think April 17th is a good date because it's a date that fits and that everybody will be there. And it is also, again, to my knowledge, not a deterrent to individuals filing their objections with the township's compliance hearing, as I believe 16 to 20 have already done so prior to the previous date. So I would just like to further explain that, as well as the fact that putting a information session together on fields is far easier because that involved all staff, individuals that work in this building. So I just want to make that very clear. So April 17th is the date, 7 p.m. at the Melbourne Free Public Library. I do not have anything else to comment.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Mr. Mariziti, would you like to?
Deputy Mayor, just very briefly, in response to Ms. Urso's question about the legal issue, as opposed to the policy issue, and with respect to responding to emails or public comments or questions, the legal issue is clear. There's no legal obligation to do it. I'm not addressing a policy question, but there's not a legal obligation of governmental officials to respond to every email or every question. You may choose to do that or may not, as you will. It's a policy question, not a legal requirement. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Mariziti. Mr. Romano?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. First of all, I'll just explain why I wanted to Mrs. Urso. My intention was to make the Zoom meeting, the Zoom way of doing the meeting as close to being in public, in the room as possible. And when someone gets up to speak here, obviously they are visible. And I wanted the same for anybody who does that on Zoom. It has nothing to do with a legal proceeding or testifying or anything like that. To Mr. Stoller, I do agree with you that there will be some catch up for the students that move into affordable housing. That's certainly a possibility, but that is an issue for the Board of Education. Obviously, they're well aware of what is coming to town, and that is something that really it's up to them to figure out what to do to provide that catch up if it is indeed needed. And then as far as the fields, I think after the first meeting, as I said last time, I think what we're seeing is additional cooperation between the rec department and the Board of Education. I think that we've certainly taken a step back. It's no longer a done deal that we're getting rid of the par three, given that meeting. In my personal opinion, that seems to have been, that seems to be rather unlikely at this point. Never say never, but I don't see that happening. But now there's a groundswell effort to find alternatives, and there's more cooperation, and that's where we'll be. But to keep talking about save the par three, I think that's a little dated at this point.
Really?
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Mr. Moman, I forgot to ask you if you have anything. All right, thank you. Right, so I have a couple of comments from the meeting, and just adding on to Mr. Cohen's, I don't know what other committee members think or feel, but par three, I've said it in the past meeting as well. I'm not in favor of taking par three out as well. So again, that is individual. What happens to the other team members? They have their own thought process, and they will go with that. There was also a question of financials. We have talked about this financials about the affordable housing. It was in the ballpark of between $3 and $5 million. It could be a little bit up or it could be a little bit down. Again, that is what the financials for that building next to the DPW, the 2-acre lot was considered. And as far as the school financial goes, that is totally up to Board of Ed. This is question to Board of Ed. So they would let you know what exactly financials they're going to face or their plan on it. There was another question asked if Rec Committee and Board of Ed met yet or not. It is this Friday, so just again reiterating the same thing. There was another question asked, available field. If we can make the 2 available field can be dedicated to the field now. Well, I brought that up, but consensus was to go with the planning board first or master plan first. And we should respect that. It's not just one person's opinion that should be in here, that's the way it needs to go. So if other people are saying the other way around, I totally respect that too. So it is going to be on the master plan first. Then there was a comment made about Slayton Field versus Library Field. Again, I'm not the one who will resolve this issue, but just from my understanding, Slayton Field, no lights. It's a school field. Library Field has lights, and it's turf field, and it's not just completely school field. It's also a township field, 50-50. Then there was a comment made on the employee handbook on the website. Is that something that we need to put it on? Is that legal, or what is the harm if put it on or not putting it on? I'm just asking this question again. You don't need to answer it right now. If you don't feel comfortable, you want to check it, that's fine too.
I'll check.
Okay. Second one was inventory comment. I don't understand that. There was some inventory comment made. Why don't we have a best practices on the?
That best practice is presented to the Township Committee every year. And the Township provides that to the state as required. There is no requirement that the best practice be posted to the website. I think Mr. Feld's suggestion is that we just do it.
Okay, so overall as a township, we have not chosen to do that. Okay. Now, another one was a lot of people have talked about, and before I get into affordable housing, there was a comment made that Ms. Meggins and I said, no tax increase as long as we are here. No, that was never the case. It was never said that way. It just happened that way. The last 2 years, we did not increase taxes on the Township Committee. But we were in the good financial condition, so there was no need to increase tax. We are still talking about of what the tax increase would be. And I can assure you, there's no significant increase, if there is any, that we are talking about. There's fund balance. The question is, should we take some money from the fund balance and put it in the budget, or just increase that And that is again a very, very nominal amount that we are talking. So again, financially, we are good. And I don't feel a need to, or we at least on the subcommittee, don't see anything coming substantial. But yes, we are faced with benefit increase and pension increase that we need to pay. I'm not sure if that is pension increase also. I think it's just the benefit increase. So including those, we won't be, I don't think we need to increase the taxes very high. Now coming back to affordable housing, a lot of mixed emotions. There are different things that have been discussed. Remember, people who sit here on the township committee are also residents. And we are first resident, then elected official. So if people get impacted by that, we do too. So it is not that we are happily saying, hey, go for it, go for it. Again, just for the reminder, we are resident first and then elected official. There was another comment made on the Upton building. Upton was more of a reactive phase, not proactively. We did not do that. Was that Upton building approved for residential zoning before? That area?
No, it was a situation similar to the Woodland, where a developer came in, they said what they wanted to do, and the township worked with them to do something that was acceptable to the municipality. In that case, went from 400 units to 200 units with a 20% set aside. The township did not have a set aside ordinance in place at that time.
And so all the information that comes in, and I'm not saying people are saying wrong or this or that, there are a lot of information that is flowing around. We need to collectively get to the bottom of it and face it. We have 2025 to 2035 affordable housing coming soon. If we want to be proactive, we need to be proactive on that part. What we have signed the agreement, which was a year and a half ago, we're only trying to execute that agreement. So that is overall the gist on affordable housing. Is there any other comment that anyone would like to make from the committee? No. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda resolutions. Are there any comments from the committee in regards to any items listed on the consent agenda? I assume no. May I have a motion to approve resolution 23-088 through resolution 23-097, which are listed on the consent agenda? Motion. Second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Romano?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Benaya?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any comments from the committee in regards to resolution 23-098? Looking at, no.
I can just offer a quick brief explanation on this one, because this is more, again, dealing with the joint meeting of Essex and Union County and the flood mitigation project. This is the notes that have been previously approved by the Township Committee being transferred to the iBank. And again, this is a 90-10 project through FEMA. The township's outlay should at the end of this be 10% of all that, of all of the funds that have been approved and authorized by the Township Committee at this point.
Thank you. Mr. Cohen, you have any comments for this?
No, Alex had explained that to me
Okay.
before the meeting.
Looking at that, then may I have a motion to approve resolution 23-098?
So moved.
May I have a second? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Romano?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Benaya?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ordinance 2636-23, Mr. Cohen is scheduled to sponsor.
Yes. I would like to present an ordinance entitled Ordinance 2636-23, capital ordinance of the Township of Milburn in the County of Essex, New Jersey, authorizing the undertaking of the 2023 road improvement program in by and for the township, appropriating therefore the sum of $1,340,000 and providing that such sum so appropriated shall be raised from the capital improvement fund of the township. So just by way of explanation, the reason that we're doing it this way is that it allows us to start the projects that we'll be doing for these road improvements earlier in the year, in the summer, when there's less disruption, as opposed to how we've done it in the past, when they've often wound up running into the fall, when school is in session and people are back from vacation. Just to mention the streets that are involved, that are planned to be involved. It's Highland Avenue, the full length from Hartshorn to Hobart, Fairfield Drive, the full length, Maple Street from Wyoming to Myrtle, which includes re-engineering the draining system, Wyoming Avenue from Milburn to Mountain View, and Myrtle Avenue from Glen Avenue to the Maplewood Town Line.
Mr. McDonald, you want to add to it?
No, I just add that, again, that the township is utilizing the IMS study that looks at the pavement condition index of each of the township's roadways. And we have been tackling roads that are poor on that index with also in some instances such as Fairfield Drive that has a lot of curb work that needs to be completed, as well as Highland Road, which is a well-traveled road, which will certainly have a shorter useful life than most of the roads in the township. And so therefore, those are that is the mindset behind those roads being chosen.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. Mr. Cohen, you would want to?
I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law in the item and for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, April 18th, 2023.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Romano?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Knine?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ordinance 2630-23, I'm scheduled to sponsor that. I present for consideration an ordinance entitled 2630-23, an ordinance granting renewal of municipal consent to Comcast of New Jersey 2 LLC to construct, connect, operate, and maintain a cable television and communication system in the Township of Milburn, Essex County, New Jersey. Tonight is the time set for the public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with law. I declare the hearing open.
Again, Jeffrey Feld, I basically have two different aspects of my questionings. First one is when you look at the form of the ordinance, question of effective date. I think that might be a unique way that it's effective when the BPU issues a renewal certification, where I think typically should it be no sooner than like 20 days from publication, or can it be done prior to a typical ordinance where it's, you have like a 20-day, you have the notice of adoption, then you have 20 days. Can they approve it prior to that expiration? I mean, it's just a drafting, because it's a unique effective date boilerplate language that I don't know how it works. But then the real other issue goes back to our cable access channel that we've been talking about for the last 2 years that's been dark. That if you look at the administrative code, I guess Article 2, Section 32, we have a cable television advisory committee. Are these still in existence? Or are we going to put content onto our access? I mean, that's an issue. I mean, it goes back to the state policy of robust informed civic participation. I understand people, this might be a generational issue that, people of a certain age now go to YouTube, but there's other uses that we can do that if we could broadcast, let's say the Board of Education, some of the programs, the sporting events, that those usually don't happen on YouTube, but we could maybe use that. But also I talked to the person who sits on the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee. I'd like to know what did other seniors Unfortunately, I became officially a senior on March 11th, 65. I had to push the button for Medicare. But, there are things that are generational that, people get their information from different sources. And I think we should, if we do have a cable access channel, we should be using it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pope. Are there anyone else to comment? Okay. Let's go.
Good evening, Curry Urso, 514 Milburn Avenue. So here it is, the cable franchise fees. I just wanted to mention that, is this body aware of the main purpose of a cable franchise fees? This is something I've talked about for nearly 3 years. The purpose of the cable companies, they provide the township a channel to inform the public with government information. But this body continues to fail to do so. I was pleasantly surprised by Ms. Eglow's conveniently mentioned of the utilizing the service of Hometown TV to record information sessions when it was she who orchestrated the direction away from the use of the local access channel to YouTube option. Which brings me to, I would ask you how you consciously could take an action to approve this ordinance, considering you continually to deprive this community by not utilizing the local access channel. Clearly, it's only about the collections of franchise fees for the general fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Urso.
Yes, hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Pasternak, we can hear you, but we cannot see you.
I'm trying, but I'm having difficulty. I'm not sure why. Sorry.
Fine, we'll give you a few more minutes or a couple more minutes.
Okay, oh, here we go. Okay, I think, all right. I'd just like to concur with what Ms. Urso and Mr. Feld just said about opening up the cable access channel locally. It was already cited just tonight about the importance of the public town halls, the one on the recreation issue and others upcoming. This would be a perfect subject for opening up that channel to allow people to tune in very easily on their local public access channel. I think at the last meeting, it was made very clear. You had, I don't know, 10 Canoe Brook Country Club people that lived around that country club who attended the meeting and made it clear to you that they knew little to nothing about the fair share housing settlement agreement, how it was impacting them and Canoe Brook, et cetera. Some of these people said they had been in town over 20 plus years. They knew nothing about it. You've had other people come to this meeting room many occasions saying they knew nothing prior to attending a meeting. So it's very clear that we just have an absence of communication channels in spite of, I know Mr. McDonald read off his litany of all these meetings he had regarding the fair share housing and he orchestrated, but it's just not enough. It's not reaching people. So if we have an opportunity, we have a tax that is meant to be used to open up this channel. We have many great things happening in our schools, in our town. Why can't we use it to publicize these things? What is the problem? What is the reason? I remember hearing Ms. Prupus say, oh, well, or maybe it wasn't her. I've forgotten who said it, but there weren't enough people that came and asked for it. Well, you're talking about, as Jeff said, people that may be a more vulnerable population, people who would not come to a meeting, elderly or older citizens, senior citizens who cannot come and use their voices to let you know. So take it from us. We talk to people. Ms. Urso runs a restaurant. She's been in this town for 30 years. She hears from a lot of different people, especially, in that age range. And I think you should hear them and listen to them and open up this channel to the public. And at least offer an explanation that's logical as to why not. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pasternak.
Thanks.
Anyone else online? No?
Can I speak about
Please.
Comcast? I was a liaison from the Township Committee to both times before that did a whole study on Comcast and what we wanted to do with it. It's not just so easy to say, well, let's just open it up. But I don't know if it's still, Alex, maybe you can tell me, is it still a 3-year situation? Because that's what it was when I was the liaison. We had 3 years of study. We had to do a survey. There were a lot of things we had to fulfill for Comcast.
Yeah, you do not have to do those things. However, that is a process that the municipalities can go through, especially if they're looking to open up the possibility for, say, other types of carriers to be put on the polls and service the community. However, in our example, Verizon is a whole separate process now through the BPU. And Comcast is the one that is currently here, and again, nothing about this ordinance is changing what was put in place by those previous groups.
It doesn't say how long this
10
lasts.
years.
It's a 10-year.
Yeah, 10 years. It used to be 15. They've shortened their process to 10 years.
Okay, 10 years. But the thing is, to get it started, I think it would help people to understand that you really have to have a number of things to take charge of it. And we don't have people who we know about who could do programs. It's very difficult. And I am sorry that at least we could have stayed with the 5 towns that were part of the Comcast thing. I think that was at least an opening for us where you could do a program, and maybe it would have helped a lot with learning about the affordable housing. But this passing this is going to mean that we'll be able to do nothing for 10 years or what?
No, I think we're conflating the two things. That one is the renewal so that the individuals who move to town have the choice of Comcast or Verizon
Yes,
Fios, right?
yes.
That's what this is. And then what
Oh,
we're
okay.
talking about is the channel that's provided by this agreement, right? Which is still in existence and still there. However, the question that has been coming up over the last few, year or two years is, what is the usefulness and effectiveness of that channel, and why are we not using it? And certainly that has been explained a few times. And I think that's the difference that we're talking about here.
Okay, so at least there is a door that we could open if we wanted to, if we were able to.
Yeah, the channel still exists.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Channels exist, and this was discussed a couple of meetings, not a couple of meetings, a couple of years ago. Talked about how will we program and stuff like dedicated person, or at least a resource, if not the complete dedicated employee. So channel is there, but should we put in a resource there or not is what the question is. Thank you, Ms. Becker, or Mayor Becker. I move that this public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading, and that the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law. May I have a second? Second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Romano? Yes. Deputy Mayor Benaya?
Yes.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor, if I could just comment for the record, the comment that Mr. Feld made is very appropriate. We did have a conversation about that language that was referred to. it is, in my opinion, that it's appropriate the way the ordinance was adopted, in that we wait for it to become effective until the certificate comes from the Board of Public Utilities. We're still waiting for them, so we've taken the action, and next move is from BPU. Thank you, Mr. Feld.
Thank you. We have no old business listed here. We're going to go to new business, which is steering committee for recreation and open space master plan review. We touched upon a little bit before. Mr. McDonald, do you want to talk about that?
Sure, and then, at the last meeting, the Township Committee had decided that it would like to proceed with a master plan element regarding recreation and open space and updating that, which was done back in 1991. We had provided the committee with a draft of a resolution that could establish a steering committee. However, I think there's also part of the resolution needs to be a referral to the planning board that the committee wishes them to take this up, as a master plan is their process. And we want to make sure that, everybody is on the same page and that this is being done in the right way. But certainly I think that the Township Committee can make all, the recommendation as to how they want to see this set up and how they want to see this move forward. The planning board have their own inputs as well, but I think that this is a start of setting that up and for the committee's discussion, how you would like to see that move forward or function, or who you would like to see be a part of it.
Without creating this without skipping anyone, what is the fastest way to get there? Again, without skipping the public input and everything.
Well, remember that a master plan process and the element of master plan is a public process, right? It's much like what we had gone through with a downtown vision plan or something of that nature, where you're involving the public along the way, and it's an examination where the community wants to go in the future, much to what has been brought up here before. Master plans are essentially the township's strategic plan. Where do you want to see the town in the future? And so there will be a very public part of that process. But I think, again, the quickest way for the committee to move this ahead is to have a resolution that provides what you would like to see the planning board do, and then give them guidance on how you would like to see this made up, because I think it's important to you that as a committee, that certain things are a part of this process.
So that's a long-term vision, and I still want to make sure while we're doing this, if at all committee agrees to dedicate one or the other field towards the rec while this process is happening, that could still be done, correct?
I mean, again, as you've noted tonight, we're still meeting with the Board of Ed. There's still parallel tracks happening. But again, being able to establish where this community goes in the future, so that, when this topic, who knows if this topic is settled or solved in the next 2-3 years, but if it goes 5 years out, then everybody has something to refer back to.
Thank you. So we are looking for consensus to put this on the resolution.
I think you're also looking for discussion among your colleagues in terms of what they want to see in makeup and how they want to see this proceed.
Well, knowing for what we are discussing, first of all, maybe we should look at Committeewoman Romano and Committeeman Kuhn. If you have any inputs, please, on this.
My only question, are we looking at 2 members of the township committee, a committee person and the liaison? It looks like it's two people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, 2 people. So one of them being the liaison, whoever that may be for that, for that particular, right? So it could be a committee person and then the committee person that serves as the record liaison.
Got it.
If I could just clarify too, just pick up on what Mr. McDonald said, the actual function of preparing the master plan is statutorily with the planning board, so that the resolution you have in front of you will be somewhat refocused to become a resolution recommending that the planning board make this appointment of this committee, rather than have it done by the governing body. We don't want to step on the toes of the planning board, because the statute says it's the planning board's job. So that's a technical legal issue, but the focus here is the guidance for us in terms of the makeup of the steering committee. There's A through L on there, and so that's what I think.
So the draft of the resolution is just, it's the draft, and we're just
a
deciding
draft.
whether we're moving forward with this, with it or not.
Yeah, the introduction to the identification of who, the membership of the steering committee, that introduction will be different because it will say we're recommending to the planning board that they create such a committee rather than this governing body creating that committee. So that we keep ourselves in the proper status and box that we should be in as a governmental entity.
That being said, however, when I look at the stakeholders that you've included, what I thought was that we should also have 2 members of the public who are interested in the state of fields. We certainly had our share of people coming for public comment with very strong opinions about what we should do about fields. So I'm talking about people who coach or somewhat, for whatever reason, members of the public who are involved with fields, separate from the rec committee and from, you know, all the other internal people that we've listed here.
I think it's a good idea.
We'll make that revision.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Great idea.
So I guess we have the consensus?
Yes.
We will revise this and bring it before the township committee at the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell, and thank you, everyone. May I have the motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, Melbourne Chortles.
Now, next meeting.